NFL Nation, we are back. We are back. Big week 3. Week 3 is where things for me really start to get exciting. We have the data. We can see how teams are playing, who can't stop the run, who has no defense, who are we targeting. This is going to be a fun week. But what I've also noticed for this week is DraftKings can notice those things too, and the pricing is getting tougher. So there's not as many obvious plays as the guys that look like the good plays you got to pay up for. So we're here to break it down for you. Who are we targeting this week? What are we looking for? How did we do last week? Dave, how you doing tonight?
Joel, doing good. Missed you last week. Definitely excited to have you back and see what you roll out here this week. This is going to be a fun one. I'll give a quick recap last week. Got to give our man Jay props. Hit the best lineup last week. We weren't as hot as we were week 1, but we did have some really solid plays, and Jay led that with the Christian Kirk. I think, he's a guy that we really all got to focus in on now. T-Law's throwing, and he's the number one. So good props there to Jay. We also had a few other decent plays. Juwan Johnson at tight end got 10 out of that role. That's a 4X value. And then we also had, we talked to Monroe St. Brown. We were going to put him in. We ended up backing off and going DeAndre Swift, but he still came through in a couple other running backs. So good overall week, but congrats to Jay for the week 2 title.
What about me, man? Congrats to both of you guys. Who would have thought you guys are both tied for first, 2-0 in the NFC East? Like, I know, Joe, you weren't thinking that. Like, you weren't thinking that the Giants can start 2-0. I know this guy over here, Dave. These Philly guys, they get high on their own supply pretty quickly. So I know they were thinking they're going to be 2-0, but props to the Giants, man. I didn't see this coming. I really did not see a 2-0 start. I was high on their offense, and I don't know if you guys saw on Discord, but I put up all my props. I wrote the word begrudgingly embedding Kenny Galladay's over props. And I don't think he was on the field for 2 plays. Two plays. Yep. Supposedly he checked out like in the locker room, like didn't even like he wasn't even there at the end of the game. So I had a bad feeling about it, but I thought he was gonna be like only the live body. So I bet it on Saturday. Found out Kadarius Toney was playing on Sunday, so I had a bad feeling about that going in. But Joel, 2-0 for your Giants, man, pretty damn impressive. How do you feel about that? Are they a real team, or is it just a good start?
So they're better than I thought. I like the coaching staff. They still have to make some improvements, but I don't think they're going to all of a sudden disappear because, like I said from the beginning of the year, they have an easy schedule. Like they're not going to play the toughest teams in the league. I think they're going to finish with a pretty good record because of the ease of their schedule. And then we'll see. Right, they're a very young team, so if they can stay competitive throughout the year, they should just get better. As most of these guys are pretty young.
Yeah, let's see what happens, man. So let's get the show started here. We're going to do our DraftCast. I'll decide what pick we want. But, Joe, kick us off, man. We got Thursday Night Football, only a couple days away. It's probably going to be a super boring game. It's the Steelers and the Browns. The over-under is 38. Maybe, go with no touchdown score, for the entire game. That might be possible. But you start us off, man. You're coming off a bye week yourself. You're well rested. Who do you got scoring the first touchdown on Thursday night?
I think the fun bet to make, and that's what we're making here. It's the first touchdown score is a fun bet. I like the odds that we can get on David Bell at 28-1. He's a rookie. I think he's a guy who is underappreciated. I think he's a really good football player. Someone we played in college last year all the time. At 28-1, he's been getting on the field. For him to catch one and get that first score, I think is within the realm of possibilities.
Dave, you can go next, man. I have a feeling you're a Nick Chubb guy, but let's see you talk this one out.
I'm not. I'm going with the Freiermuth out of Penn State. Cleveland, surprisingly, 14th against tight ends fantasy-wise this year. I say surprisingly because they've gone up against the vaunted Ian Thomas. And who's the Jets tight end? Conklin. And somehow they've lit up, 9 catches and 120 yards to tight ends. So they're getting lit up a little bit by bad tight ends. Freiermuth's pretty good tight end. Mitch Trubisky, pretty bad quarterback. Usually they connect when that's a safety valve. Plus 1,200, I like his value.
That was actually gonna be my pick, so you kind of screw me over there. So I'm gonna go I'm going to go with one of these quarterbacks. I think one of these quarterbacks, they both have some rushing potential. I do like Freiermuth a bunch. I think that's a great play. He's probably got the best odds for a receiver, out of anybody here. But let's go with some Mitchell Trubisky at plus 3,500, man. 35-1. If he sneaks one in, look, he's probably playing for his job at this point. Like, it's getting closer and closer as weeks go on. So if things break right, 3rd and 1 at the 1 yard line, 3rd and goal, whatever you want to consider. 35-1, I'll take that. Anytime touchdown, I'm going to jump you guys. I'm going to take Freiermuth for anytime touchdown. I think he'll find the end zone. It's going to be a low-scoring game, but give me Freiermuth, pretty good odds, plus 230 to score a touchdown. I got to pick somebody. The easy one is Nick Chubb, but I'll go with Freiermuth at plus 230.
Yeah, I need to be honest with you here. I had Trubisky picked as my pick as well. And then I panicked, and I was like, I don't want to put my name behind Trubisky. And I was like, this is the next guy, Bell. Let's go, Bell. I couldn't take Trubisky. Then when you said, I was like, all right, fine. Someone else thought it too.
Jacoby can get in too, man. Like, I don't dislike Jacoby here either. So maybe you should just rock Trubisky at any time. And, Jacoby's there at plus 552. These are fun bets, but someone yesterday bet Stephon Diggs to score anytime touchdown, Stephon Diggs to score 2 touchdowns, Stephon Diggs to score 3 touchdowns, and he loaded up on all of them. I think he won like $4,000 or $5,000. Somebody posted it, but pretty interesting for DraftKings, man. I was telling everybody I like the Bucks money line. It was only minus 130 against the Saints, but I say, you know what? With that, if you're up 10, you automatically win the bet on DraftKings. I'm like, why not fire away? If they go up 10 and somehow blow it late, I can still go ahead and win my bet regardless. So I did that with them. Did that a couple times throughout the season, but I saw it was just posted on Twitter before the show. They've lost $75 million from that bet being available. If you go up 7 or up 10, that they're cutting it off week 3. Like they took a beating on Thursday night, that KC Chargers game. They lost $25 million straight up on that.
I took the Chargers.
The Chargers went up 10 early or 7 early. They do it at 7 or 10 at different ratings, but you got the Chargers at plus 165. They paid out guys like Dave and everybody else. And then I had the Chiefs on the backside, and they went up 7 or 10, whatever it was on that game. So they paid out both sides, and they've been paying out both sides on some of these games where you lose $75 million in 2 weeks. Probably a good time in this recession to not do that much longer. They got raked, man, like badly. $75 million. I was telling people, like, this is an easy way to insure your bet if you like a line. I was even thinking about taking like the Bills last night, but I'm like, God forbid they lose. Like, the money line was like minus 350. It's like not really worth it at that case, but like chances of them going up 10 are pretty damn high. I thought about the Packers won against the Bears. I don't think they're going to bring it back, but it was risky, and they definitely lost a ton of money doing that shit, man.
That's funny. And I definitely played a lot of those, but you know what it is? Get people hooked. They'll get that $75 million back pretty quick. So one guy I wanted to throw out at you guys, I think I'm going to put George Pickens in there for an anytime, plus 550. Carolina's been not very good against number 2s. Robbie Anderson had over 100 in Cleveland in game 1 against Cleveland. And then last week, Garrett Wilson lit him up, right? So Elijah Moore didn't. So I want to look off the track of Deontay Johnson. Claypool hasn't been great. I think Pickens could get in there for his first. He's only had 2 catches so far, but he was all the hype, right?
Yeah, and he looked good this preseason too. I mean, he made some plays. I think it's a matter of time before they get him involved. My only concern with Pickens is Mitchell Trubisky. I think the talent's there. Someone's got to get it to him, and so I think when they figure that out, I think he's going to be a stud.
Yep.
All right, man. So we're at that point where we can kind of start doing our DraftCast right now. I won first, so I don't know. I think I don't want to do the. I'm going to go with pick 2, and since Joel, you had the week off, I'll let you go ahead and take pick 1. Slide Dave in the 3-hole. He pushed me in the 3-hole last time. I kept on getting confused. I kept on getting confused of what pick I had, and it was that awkward pause in between every pick. So I think I feel more comfortable going in the 2-hole. So, Joel, man, you can go first. Dave, I'm going to pop everything up here in a second. This is a big slate. Joel, before we go into picks here, what's your thoughts about this slate as far as stacks and strategy right now? Where are you looking?
I think where I'm leaning in terms of a general strategy, this slate especially, but I think more in general long term, I think you got to save salary where you can at running back, and where you want to spend your money is on these receivers. You're getting a point per reception. I think as we've seen beginning of the year, some of these running backs have not been as great as maybe we'd expect. But even with that, I think the league is turning where you can find some value in some of these cheaper backs, and someone getting you, if you get a cheap back at 60 yards and a score, that's more than enough value if you hit on these stud receivers who have been going off. So that's where I'm heading now, is I'm looking to really attack passing games and try and find value at running back.
All right. So you go out there and do your thing, man. Take the first pick. I'll be in the 2-hole, and Dave has got the rebound at 3. So go first, buddy.
Dave, I don't know if you're going to like this or not like it, but I'm going to go with the first pick with Miles Sanders. The Eagles running back, listen, this is a dynamic running game.
So glad you did that, man. So glad, because I'm taking Jalen Hurts number 2. So we're going to spike Dave. When you said, Dave, you're not going to like this, and you went in and go type in a name, I'm like, oh, shit, he's taking Jalen Hurts. My strategy backfired, but go with Miles Sanders. I'm going to go with Jalen. So you can plug in both those names while we talk about how good the Eagles are, and we take all these Eagles away from Dave, who obviously is an Eagles fan. He went to the game last night, so that must have been fun. But, Joe, talk about Miles Sanders, man.
So my thought process here is, one, leaning right into what I just said, right? This is a great value at running back, one of the best rushing attacks in the league, playing what hasn't looked like to be a very good defense in the Washington defense. I think the concern with him here is he could lose all his rushing touchdowns to Jalen Hurts, obviously who you're taking next. But at 5,500, if he gets 2 of those, I think you're doing 2 things here. One, you're getting a ton of value. And 2, Jalen Hurts is going to be really popular. And so therefore, most people aren't going to play both Hurts and Sanders. So you probably get an under-owned Sanders. So there'll be some value as well from a GPP perspective.
There you go.
I like it. I mean, I got to admit, like you said, the running game is dynamic. I think we've seen Washington be a little bit exposed. We talked about Chase Young being out. And it's obvious. It's Miles Sanders' backfield right now. So I think you do have to take advantage of that while it's still hot. So at 5,500, he's one of the best values on this board.
So you're up, Dave, man. Let's see what you got, man. Hopefully we spiked you. Now you're really confused. You don't know where to go.
I am not.
You do know. Oh, it's some guy who's kind of good at football. Okay, I got it.
Yeah, so listen. 24 targets in 2 games? Sign me up. He's been averaging 31.4 fantasy points on DK over his first 2 games. Amon-Ra St. Brown is just – he's a machine. And then I watched what the Vikings did last night, and I'm pretty sure they can't stop anybody. So they just go back in this shell. He's going to have 12 targets again. At this price value, 30 is in range again. So we're not going to let him slip like we did last week. I'm going to take him first, and I'll take Amon-Ra St. Brown. The hard part, I guess for me, is trying to figure out where I'm going to dance back with value. But I am going to grab this guy just so you guys don't. I don't know if he's on your radar, but Dameon Pierce had a game this week where they finally decided he's their guy. I mean, I say finally, it's only week 2, but he got all the running back carries, 16 for 77. And I just think we have a situation where he's just going to be getting better every single week, like those rookie running backs do in the past few years. Chicago led up 133 to Aaron Jones on the ground. Let's go Dameon Pierce.
I like how you guys have set me up with the plays that I want to take. Look, I got our projection model open. I got our lineup optimizer open. 2 different set of projections. They both got this guy as the best value at the running back position. Mike Evans, much respect to Mike Evans, man. Like, I don't know if you guys saw what he did, but he goes out there and just nails Lattimore and sends him on his ass with like a nice little shove, man. And I don't know, I give him respect for backing up Brady and going out there. I really don't think you should be suspended for one whole game for just shoving somebody who was like kind of in a tussle with your quarterback. Like, players definitely done worse than that. Like a little shove like that. I don't know, man. So give me Leonard Fournette. Nice little value spot. Good matchup, not great matchup, but with Mike Evans out, Chris Godwin out, the Bucs pick up Cole Beasley today. So they're obviously desperate for some pass catchers. So I think Fournette go in there, catch some more passes. Should be an up-paced game here. Green Bay doesn't scare me from a defensive standpoint. And a nice fair price, $6,500 for a guy that's on the field. He's got 24 touches in his second week. 21 in the first week. He's getting targeted for some pass catching as well. This should be a higher scoring game than the first two games against a good defense in New Orleans and a pretty good defense in Dallas who can't score. So this is a team in Green Bay that got run on a little bit by Chicago, and this should be a higher scoring game here, with Brady versus Rodgers. So give me Fournette at a nice price tag.
Yeah, I hope at the end of their NFL career they line up in the boxing ring. A little Le'Veon Bell versus who was it the other day?
Adrian Peterson. Yeah, he
That's
knocked
it, yeah.
Peterson. I was shocked, man. If I had a chance to put money on there, I definitely would have thought AP is a tough dude.
Yeah,
he'll beat Le'Veon Bell, but Bell just put him down, man. Out cold. So who's up here, Joel? Back to you, I'm assuming, or
yep.
No, you got one more. No,
I'm in the middle. I can't have one more. That's why I picked the middle. So I don't have any double picks, man.
Even better. I am going for get right week. So what I'm doing here, two guys I'm taking back to back that relatively disappointed last week, and I think they're too good for that to happen back to back weeks. So we're getting a get right week with first Justin Jefferson, who was really slowed down by the Eagles secondary. I don't see that happening this week against a Detroit team that hasn't been able to stop a nosebleed. I think he's going to get right and have a pretty big day, and they're going to get him the ball as much as possible. And I'm going to follow that up with Davante Adams, who plays a Tennessee defense who just got absolutely torched by Stephon Diggs. Again, they just spent a whole lot of money on Davante Adams. It doesn't even look good to see him catch two balls. They're going to get right with him this week, and they're going to get him the ball early and often. So I'm spending a lot of my money here on these premium receivers, but I think both guys are due for a big week.
Yeah, with me, I'm going to go similar to that. Joe Mixon just didn't find the end zone. Cincinnati's in trouble. They can't keep Burrow upright. The best way to keep him upright is actually start running the ball. Great matchup against the Jets. We saw what Nick Chubb did last week. Look, Joe Mixon getting all the touchdowns. He's actually getting targeted. 13 targets as well in the last two games. So he's getting targeted with balls out of the backfield. He's just not scoring touchdowns. That's why you don't see the fancy points there. Fairly priced, 7,600. I want a bell cow. Give me Joe Mixon, backing up Fournette and Hurts. Now, I think all three of these guys score touchdowns, so I like the start of this. So, Dave, on you, my man.
Yeah, Mixon's been in your lineup 3 straight weeks, so I'm catching a trend here, Jay. But
he's got to score a touchdown this week, man. He's due.
Yeah.
Third time's a charm, man.
I love it. Listen, talking about a guy that can score touchdowns, I think is underpriced this week, and I'm going Stephon Diggs. He's sitting down there as a 5th or 6th rated receiver on DraftKings. I'm getting him for under 8K. Miami, we saw what they did against Baltimore in a shootout this week. We could have something similar. The only thing I've seen is Buffalo, Miami have played under 4 of the last 5 games. So it'll be interesting, but at this value, I still think it's at this price, I still think it's good value. So I'll go Stephon Diggs. And then I was torn here if I should really pair this up, but I'm going to wait. And like you guys, I've seen some value out there in other positions. I'm going to go Evan Ingram. Ingram, he had 8 targets this week. And we talked about Jacksonville being able to move the ball through the air lately. I think tight ends have been scoring mid-range. They haven't been scoring a ton. If I can just get double digits out of my tight end at 3,700, I'm ecstatic. And against the Chargers team that, that's a projected high-scoring game, I'll take Ingram in this one.
There you go. The stack you needed this past week was a game stack, as far as Baltimore and Miami. It just went bonkers. The way it started, I'm like, okay, you need Lamar Jackson, and that's pretty much all you needed because he went out and had that 75-yard touchdown. But then after some apple picking with my daughter, I turned back to score. I thought the game was over, and Miami did something I never thought would happen. Like, I saw the talent there, but I never really believed in Tua, just the way just never really did. But obviously worked out for the Dolphins, went out there, miraculously won that game. Game stack's a way to go out there and win GPPs. If you had that game stack of Tua, Tyreek, Waddle, and ran it back with Mark Andrews, you were in line for the million maker. That's the core you needed. So I'm hoping to build around that core here. I'm going to go with A.J. Brown. Kind of a down game, but still got 8 targets and somewhat of a blowout. So, if Washington can keep pace here against Philly's defense looked really sharp against Minnesota. But they're going on the road here to Washington. Washington's going to try to play them tough. So give me some A.J. Brown, kind of a bounce back spot for him, but still 8 targets. He'll find the end zone. He should do better against the Washington secondary. Just complete trash here. It's getting lit up by everybody. So A.J. Brown to pair with Jalen Hurts, stacking that Philly game.
Good pick. Just from a Philly perspective, Devontae Smith had no catches in week 1, so they were going to get him the ball this week, and I think that's where they laid their money on. So I think it's back to A.J. Brown this week. Good pick.
Yeah, I like that pick as well. A.J. Brown is a stud. He looks good. So if Hurts can get him the ball, they're going to be a problem. All right, so I'm going to go. I got to get some value. I paid up a lot of money in my receiver position, so I need to find a way to balance out my lineup. With my first pick, I'm intentionally targeting the Baltimore Ravens secondary. We saw last year they were bad. I thought they made improvements. Obviously, what we saw last week, the Patriots don't have the skill players that the Dolphins have, but in fantasy, I like looking for those teams that have that funnel defense, right? The Baltimore's got a good run D. They're going to make it hard for you to run, so you kind of have to throw. And the guy showing the most success through the air is Jacoby Myers. I mean, he had, 11 targets last week, just under 100 yards. I think they're going to have to go to him again. And at $5K only, I think, it's a really good price for him. I think is at least pretty safe to get a bunch of receptions. And then I'm going to follow that up with another guy just kind of, I want to get as many targets as I can. And unfortunately, I don't love doing this. I'm going for 2 pass catchers on the same team, but I'm going to follow that up with Irv Smith Jr., who had 8 targets last night. Now, a lot of that was game script. They were down. Jefferson was kind of blanketed. I don't anticipate him getting another 8, but I do think the talent is better than his price tag at $3,100. This is a guy who I think can end up being a top 7 or 8 tight end by the end of the season. So at $3,100, I think that's a great number for him.
Yeah, I like the call there. Both those guys work for me. Looking at the rest here, I'm trying to bounce around here to see if I want to go defense, tight end, or go to some wide receiver help. Give me a second here. Kind of sort through here. Yeah, let me go wide receiver. And I'm going to go with – damn, this is tough right now, man. This is tough. Who did I have penciled in here? Let me go and make Sticks happy. I'm going to go with McCole Hardman. And, in an offense that's going to go out there and put up some points. Sticks has been high on this guy the entire year. Fairly priced here going against Indianapolis. As long as Hardman's okay, he's got a questionable tag. He went down with a little ankle injury, but before that, he was targeted a bunch. As long as Indy can keep this game close, take a wild card on Hardman, hopefully finds the end zone.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, one of the higher totals too out there. Chiefs are always dangerous. I like it. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna pair up Josh Allen in this one. Try and see if we can get a little lightning strikes twice against Miami. I am spending up. I get it. I don't always spend up on quarterbacks, but last week I got burnt with Lance. That at this point, I think I want to have at least a safe play at quarterback. So I'll go with Allen to pair with Diggs, and then I'm going to come back with some value. At least I hope it's value at receiver in Russell Gage. And a lot of this is what you talked about earlier with Mike Evans. No Mike Evans this week. I think Gage is going to, and obviously no Godwin either. It's going to be Fournette. It's going to be a couple other guys. Gage could be sneaky in this one. At 4,700, I think we have some real value there, especially, Green Bay's not that stellar defense we saw. Justin Jefferson went wild in week 1 against them.
Yeah, I like that call. I'm going to go with defense. I need some value here. Give me Seattle defense going against Atlanta at home. They look pretty good against Russ, and I need value here. So I think they're the best, value D here. You can take a shot on a couple other defenses, but give me the Seahawks, 2,700, to give me some value.
All right.
I like it. I like it a lot. All right. So I'm in a tough place here. I'm torn about where I'm going to go. I'm going to make a pretty, I'm torn between 2 guys. And I think I'm going to go with somehow, some way, I'm going to go with Joe Flacco, the Jets quarterback. Yeah. So I need to find a value quarterback. I was down between 2. But at the end of the day, Flacco threw for 300 yards twice. It doesn't look like this Jets team is going to establish a run. If anything, they'll probably be playing behind again this week against Cincinnati. And with my second pick, I like what I saw out of Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson, I think, is going to be a stud. He looked really good last week. They pummeled him with something like 14 targets. So I'll go with that pairing, expecting them to go down big and have to basically do what he's done for 2 weeks straight, is play from behind, get those garbage points count the same. So at his price tag of 5,300, I think if we can get us anywhere above 250 and a score or two, that'll pay off his salary.
That's a shocker. I'm just going to say it's a shocker, but I get it. Like Flacco had led the league in attempts in week 1. Obviously, had to lead that comeback in week 2. So, man, if you hit that, you're in great shape with that lineup.
Look, he's got Justin Jefferson and Devontae Adams. So, Flacco doesn't have to do much. If he gets 15, 20, and then Wilson looked great. Believe he cursed out a little kid, which wasn't the best look. Was it Wilson or Elijah Moore did that? One of those two guys. I think it was Wilson. Cursed out a little kid in Cleveland after scoring that touchdown. But I'm going to go value, complete this game stack again. Give me 3,500 Logan Thomas. Hopefully finds the end zone again. He scored a touchdown in week 2 against Detroit. Look, if Jalen Hurts goes out there and gets, full throttle scoring points with some A.J. Brown, I need Logan Thomas as my run back to kind of go in there as a GPP lineup. We're playing GPPs here. Got the low-owned Hardman, and then hopefully a lower-owned Logan Thomas, where everybody's probably going to go to Curtis Samuel, Terry McLaurin, and Antonio Gibson. I'll go a little bit off. Go Logan Thomas, 3,500. Nice value for a tight end spot.
All right, Jay, that leaves you with 10,200 on your way in for your last 2. Joel, you have 8,000 left for your last 2. I got 13.5, but I got 3 I got to kind of purge through here. And it makes it a little tougher, obviously. So I think I will try and, pair my defense up now, get that out of the way, try and spend low. And you talked about game stacks, but in defense, it's really interesting because last week, some of the worst defenses really got the best points. The Jaguars, obviously one that lit the lamp.
The Falcons somehow got there, which is bonkers.
It really was. And, there's a couple lowly owned teams, and I'm going to go with the New York Jets.
I don't mind the Jets. The Jets, I was looking. Like, if somebody grabbed the Seahawks, I was going to go Jets. I don't mind that at all.
As long as he's getting sacked, and he being Joe Burrow 1,000 times, which it feels like he is. I think he's been sacked 12 in the first 2 games. It's just going to put a lot of pressure. I don't care if the Bengals score points, but if we can rack up those sacks at 2,400 and somehow get somewhere in the 8 to 10 range, we're really doing well. So I'll take the Jets, maybe even get lucky with the pick 6 like Steelers did against Burrow in week 1. So that puts me at 38.9. So I got about 11 to spend. So I am going to spend up on that, like you guys like to say, the bell cow up there. I don't know what's going on with this team. But I think, I'm going to do it. All right, I'm going to go Eckler. I feel like they're just really underusing Eckler, and I think we all know that as fantasy owners. And this might be the get right week against Jacksonville. So I'll go Eckler, leave myself about 3,000 left for a flex, and I'm okay with that.
I like that call. Kind of works for me. I'm going to go another value spot. We all got lucky with him, I feel like, to some extent in week 2. Nobody really played him in week 1. I think people will be off him slightly in week 3. They should be playing from behind again. Give me some Greg Dortch, 4,300. Can't really burn you in a nice total. And, I think the Rams are going to go ahead. Murray's going to be in the same spot, running for his life. They probably lose the game, but hey, let them lose the game. Let them be down even more than they were last time. As long as they can keep that pressure off them so they can get a couple balls out. I think Dortch will be an okay GPP, lesser owned this week as well in a matchup against the Rams.
Yeah, Rondale Moore, I think, is still out. So I think that's a very good pick.
Yeah, he looked good. He looked like Kyler looks to target him. So I think at his price, that's a good value. I'm going to go ahead and start with one of my favorite value plays on the board, and it's a running back, and it's Josh Jacobs. All the talk all year was about how it was going to be a split backfield and how he's going to lose a lot of guys, and that just hasn't been the case. But the price has been not adjusted. I mean, they're really pricing him down in the low 5,400. This Tennessee defense has not been good against the run. They got lit up by Saquon. The Bills were able to do basically whatever they wanted. They threw the ball for most of the time, but they didn't have any trouble moving the ball throughout the day. So I'm happy with Oakland offense and scoring as many points as they can this week. And then to close out my roster, I'll pick the Carolina defense going up against Jameis Winston, who knows going to throw at least one pick. So I'll take my chances on getting a turnover against Jameis Winston here.
I need your guys' help right now. I know this is a competition right now, but let's just talk, if you're a subscriber watching, you're trying to build out lineups, you kind of get in this spot here where I got 5,900 left. I can't tinker right now because, hey, we already locked the rest of our lineups, but I got some options here. You got David Montgomery. Don't really like him at 5,900, but went out there against Green Bay, 15 attempts, 122 yards, caught 2 passes, going against the Houston D. You got Montgomery there. I got Michael Thomas against Carolina, Adam Thielen, Brandon Cooks, Darren Waller, Lockett, who had a decent game, Cordell Patterson, who just figures out ways to kind of score points. Lockett looked better. Drake London looked good. Rashad Bateman. Henderson I was thinking about, but he was splitting touches with Akers, so that's going back and forth. Allen Robinson in play. You guys love anybody here at this 5,900 range? What's your thoughts?
Drake London.
London against Seattle?
Mm-hmm.
The Kyle Pitts swan song is not going to affect him where,
I don't know. He just seems like clearly a talent that I'm starting to target, and obviously they are starting to just go to, in certain tough situations. They don't have really anyone else. I think he's a stud too. Like Joel said about Garrett Wilson, this class is good, and I think London is very good.
Joel, what's your thoughts here? You're on London. Do you like the Thielen, the Montgomery running back flex spot, Michael Thomas?
I like London. My pick, I like London. I don't think you can go wrong there, but my pick, I'll just to be different, I'll go with Michael Thomas. I still think they're disrespecting him. This is a guy who we've seen be a top receiver in the league. I know he's coming off an injury, but 8 targets, 9 targets the first 2 weeks. He's there. I think he can certainly show up and have a big day.
I'll go with Michael Thomas. London against Seattle just worries me a little bit, especially they're talking so much about getting Kyle Pitts the ball here. So I'm going to go with this. Hopefully it doesn't come back to burn me, Joel, trying to spike me with the wrong pick here. But I'm going to go with Michael Thomas. I'm feeling like he's a safer play for a flex play than a Drake London, who I had him on some leagues. He helped me win our Win Daily League. How are you guys doing in Win Daily League? Are you guys, Joel, are you in the Win Daily League or no?
I wasn't invited.
Yeah, right. We invited everybody. So you ignored. I actually opened it up for Dave to come in. Now we have 14 teams. Dave, how you doing?
1-1. Got a better week this week. Some of the things started clicking. Allen is obviously a stud, but sitting 1-1 right in the middle of the pack, which I'm okay with. Very bad week 1, but good rebound.
1-1 is fine, man.
Yeah, I saw you're 2-0.
2-0, yeah. Thanks to everybody who let me get Cooper Kupp with the 6th pick, 6th or 7th pick, whatever ridiculous number it was. I didn't think I was getting him, so happy about that. I got Jalen Hurts. I wanted Lamar Jackson. One of you guys took it right before me, so I got stuck with Jalen Hurts. That kind of worked out. And my rest of my team's been pretty solid. I already got an injury to Eli Mitchell, which kind of hurt. But my running back's a little suspect, but hanging in there, won pretty easily both weeks. So pretty happy so far, man. But talking about survivors.
Well, I got to finish my draft.
Oh, we care about you? All right. What do you got left
that's
here?
Right. Look,
we care about you?
I only got a few bucks left. And you started talking Saints. Why not? I'll go back to my boy, Juwan Johnson. He's had 12 targets in the first 2 weeks. I'm doubling up on tight ends. Sometimes that strategy actually works in DFS, especially because they're one of the one position, the one skill position that you can dip below that 3,000 line. I like him in this spot again. Maybe you can steal a touchdown from Michael Thomas, and we can talk Drake London next week.
Now, real quick segment before we go into Survivor and our favorite stacks and some strategy talk. Who are we really looking out for We know Mike Evans is out. Do we have any word yet on Keenan Allen? It's probably too early to talk about Gabe Davis. James Conner, got to look at him. Who are we really looking at for injuries? I know it's Tuesday. It's kind of early in the week, but if you guys have any thoughts here about injuries, and then also Michael Pittman, if these guys are out, who are we looking to replace them with? Are there spots that we want to flock to, or are we pretty much staying away with the situations that we're looking at right now?
I'll give you one. Kamara, I really got to keep an eye on. Carolina's bad in the rush defense. I know they held Saquon to a little bit better and controlled him a little bit this week, but still, I think if Kamara's there, it's probably going to shake up what I do with Juwan and some other people. So I'm keeping an eye on Kamara.
Are you playing anybody if he's out, or is it just if he's in, you kind of like him? If he's out, you're not going to Mark Ingram or Taysom Hill and like that, right?
Right. If he's in, I might flex out of some of the receivers like a Thomas or a Johnson. This could be a different script if he's playing. So that's really where my eye is.
Yeah, it's looking like Pittman has made some good progress, whatever that means. So we still got to keep an eye on him. I was shocked how bad Indianapolis played. Now, Joe, from a perspective of Indianapolis, is this team terrible now? Like they going to get washed by everybody if you lose the way they lost in the first 2 weeks? Like, is KC just going to roll into town and win by 30? Is that why DraftKings took out the -10 because they were worried about the Colts getting smashed here? Is this a spot that you're staying away from Chiefs because you think it's going to be a blowout? It's Hilaire in play. Talk about this game a little bit.
So I actually go the opposite. I actually like the Colts here. Let's keep this in mind. The Colts are probably closer to what we thought they were than what we've seen the first 2 weeks. They played in a division rivalry. Yeah, it was a terrible game. They haven't looked good. There's a lot of concerns there. But in my gut tells me they'll end up being the team we thought they were going to be, or at least closer to that than what we've seen. Weird things happen in division rivalry games. That's what happened last week. Now they're going to come out this week in what's going to look like a must-win to turn the season around. I think they're going to have a get-right spot. They're going to surprise some people. They're going to have a huge day with Jonathan Taylor. I'm actually probably going to take the Colts to win the game.
Whoa. To win the game outright.
Yep. My suggestion would be to take the points, but I think they're going to win the game.
Okay. If James Conner is out, are you looking to Benjamin here as a nice salary receiver against a tough defense in the Rams? And my second question to you, Joe, if Keenan Allen's out again, are you locking Mike Williams or flocking to one of the cheaper guys like a Everett or a Palmer?
I think I'm more interested in if Keenan Allen's out. I think finding those pass catchers, or even if that means loading up more on Eckler. I just think the opportunities in an offense that's that good with a guy who takes that much of a target share out are going to be there. Go find them, right? Whoever it is, just target somebody. If you want to just put more emphasis on Eckler, I'm happy with that. If you want to look at Palmer or Carter or some of those other secondary receivers, I think that's a good idea too. Mike Williams certainly seems like in a good spot in that situation. So if Allen plays, I think the ball gets spread out a little bit more, and so it's harder to really focus there. But with him out, it tells me to go pick somebody.
Yeah, with him out, I think it's a good spot to go ahead and go to Mike Williams first. I like Gerald Everett probably second. I think most people will come off and go to Josh Palmer. And he got that late touchdown, but he wasn't like as involved that we thought he was. Gerald Everett looked to be more targeted and got a little bit lazy on that one play that kind of cost him the game. But stacks, Dave, I stole your Jalen Hurts stack, but are the Eagles going to be your number one stack going into Sunday on the main slate? Or do you have some other stacks that you're looking at?
Yeah, I got a few, but let me just answer a question from the crowd real fast. Asking about Raheem Mostert. Interesting play, right? He did get a little bit more of the touches recently, in this last game, but that was such a wild shootout game. I almost feel like that's the pace of the game that we're going to see again this week. I'm not sure I'm in love with him. Buffalo's sitting here ranked third in rushing DVOA. So, yeah, he can get some touches. Yeah, he's cheap. Yeah, I could see him mixing him in. But I wouldn't be in love with him. That's just where I'm sitting. But back to your stack question. Eagles are right there, but it's still the teams over there in Buffalo and Miami, as well as Minnesota and Detroit. So I find we could get 2 game stacks there that could be pretty nasty. And I almost lean towards the Lions-Vikings one more than anything. I think we know those 2 defenses are bad. I think we know those 2 offenses are decent. So I like the Cousins, Jefferson, even some Cook, and I even like the Swift and St. Brown. So those are the ones I'm probably looking at a little higher than the Eagles, because the Eagles could play. They really distribute it all around.
Joe, what do you think about, you just mentioned Kansas City. What do you think about Buffalo and Miami? How does this game play out? Buffalo's favored by 5.5 going to Miami. Miami's coming off a huge win. Buffalo has been steamrolling every team starting this year. They have one goal in mind, which is to win a Super Bowl here. But the Dolphins with Tyreek and Waddle looks to be an explosive combination. Bills defense, probably the best defense that they're going to face. And the Bills offense, probably the best offense they're going to face as well, even better than Baltimore here. Thoughts on that game, especially after a week where that was the stack that you needed to have?
Well, you are looking at the highest total on the slate. So there's something there. This Bills offense, if they're not the best offense in the league, they're certainly a top 3. So I think the Bills offense is going to put up points. I think where I put a little pause is the Bills defense is also top 5. The Bills defense is really good. Tua's not going to have 6 touchdowns, right? Now, I'm not saying Tua won't. I can see the scenario where this team, this game gets to be a bit of a back and forth, but it's not going to be 6 touchdowns. He's not going to do what he did last week. It's going to look a little different than that. I prefer the Buffalo side of this game, obviously, because I think there's more question marks on the Miami defense, who I don't think is a poor defense either. But there was a really good situation last week where Tua could go off, and he's not going to get that this week.
Yeah, I kind of agree to that this game, but it could be there's explosive offenses on both sides too. This is going to be the better. I wouldn't say better than the Rams offense, but it's pretty close to it. They're very balanced. They have a way to get down the field as well with Tyreek and Waddle. I like the Bills in this spot better than the Dolphins, but like you said, highest over under. Dave, one other question here. You guys both talk about this. Any love for the Arizona versus the Rams late hammer 4:00 game, total 49.5, Rams favored by 3.5. Obviously, Cooper Kupp is great at football. He does it every single week, but he's 9,900. It's a tough team to stack at that price tag. And Kyler Murray did it himself. AJ Green drops passes. Marquise Brown, kind of overrated. Zach Ertz, kind of hurt. Dortch is okay. If they don't have James Conner here, I could see this game getting out of hand here, but any love for a potential game stack in Arizona?
Yeah, on the Rams side, I mean, listen, Arizona was shut out by half last week. They were, I think they might have scored 3 in the first half against Kansas City. It was low.
Definitely should have lost that game. Terrible job by the Raiders.
Oh, absolutely awful. They took their foot off the gas pedal. Car was rolling, and they just tried to win that game, by just getting first downs. That's just not the way you win the NFL these days. So, Arizona, I don't really have a lot of love for their stack. I think they have to play in the right situation to have these comebacks to get them points. And I'm not willing to rely on that, but I have interest on the Rams side. I think the Rams could put up numbers similar to what Kansas City did. This is a bad Arizona defense. Bad. Kupp will be in play. Robinson will be in play. You could even see some Higbee. I could get in love with that. I think Henderson has a bounce back week too. I'm just a little scared what they're going to do with the Akers thing when Henderson wasn't great last week. So, but I could see some Ram stack.
Joe, go.
What I'll add to that is, let's not forget last week, the Cardinals found a way to take Adams out of the game, right? And we haven't seen anything that's looked impressive from anyone else on this Rams offense but Cooper Kupp. So, I mean, obviously the clear play to me right now, if I was this Cardinals team, is let's just take Cooper Kupp out of the game and make Robinson beat us at this point, right? Because they haven't shown it yet. And I think that's probably now. Obviously, that's probably the game plan of a lot of defensive coordinators, and it doesn't always work. So I'm not saying that's going to work, but I'm sure that's what they're going to try to do, is just try and take him out like they were able to do last week with Devontae Adams. So at 9,900, I'm looking to convince myself why I don't want to play him at that high salary, and that's kind of how I'm getting behind it.
Joe, I think you might go in a certain direction, but low-owned stack. Who would be the low-owned stack that you kind of like? I'm assuming you're going to say Joe Flacco, but let's put you to the test here so I can notate it again if you're going to go with Flacco and double down on this dude.
I could go for another stack. Flacco worked out for my draft. I'm not sitting here saying I love Joe Flacco this week. Everyone go play him. That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is, though, this Jets team doesn't look to have a great running attack, and even their running game seems to be short passes, which is just great for Joe Flacco, right? He can find a really cheap way to find value at 5,300 by sending a lot of short passes to the backs, screen passes. They're going to be behind, getting some dump off. So, again, fantasy isn't about how good you are in football. It's how do you get the fantasy points. And this Jets team can find a way to be productive in the air. So, therefore, I do like this Flacco and stack him with Garrett Wilson, who I think, like, to give you guys I hope none of my friends are watching this in my fantasy league. In my fantasy league, I'm bidding most of my fab on Garrett Wilson. I think that wasn't a mistake last week. I think Garrett Wilson's going to be a really great player. And I still think they're underpricing me at 5,400.
Yeah, I'll throw out one other name. It's going to sound terrible, but Geno Smith at 5,000, pairing him with Lockett or Metcalf is a cheap little build. Atlanta's getting scored on. That defense is terrible. So if you want to go cheap in a GPP, it probably ends up being close to what you called out. With Geno at 5,000 and then Lockett at 5,800, nobody's going to play it. Geno's been better, and this is probably his worst defense that he's going to go against. Like he didn't put up much, but San Fran and Denver's D are two really tough Ds. He's running the ball a little bit as well. I wouldn't be shocked if Geno goes out there against Atlanta and puts up 250, 2 touchdowns or 3 touchdowns at 5K. You get 15 out of him and Lockett. Lockett can break a big one. He caught 100, went for 100 yards against San Fran. This is definitely a softer matchup here. So I think it's a little sneaky snack. I don't know about a full game stack because I think Seattle's defense is pretty good here. Atlanta maybe you can run it back with Drake London and wouldn't run it back with anybody else. Maybe Pitts if you want to, but definitely a lower owned play. Joel, this might be the farthest I've made it in a survivor pool ever. I usually lose the first 2 weeks. I don't want to jinx it right now, but I made it through 2 weeks on the DraftKings, whatever they call it, a Millie Maker, whatever it is. I'm 2 weeks through. I was kind of looking at Kansas City as a spot. You kind of get me scared already. So survivor picks, let's talk this out. I've already used Baltimore, and last week I used the Rams, which they somehow made me sweat for no apparent reason. I don't even know how the hell it got that close, but let's talk some survivors. I was thinking KC as an obvious choice. They got one of the best, matchups on the board, one of the highest spreads. Outside of KC, you got the Chargers, which kind of scare me because the Jaguars have been playing good. You got the Vikings, which I don't want to go against the Lions. I think the Lions are a pretty good team here. Ravens I already chose. So Eagles, I haven't chosen yet, but in division against Washington worries me a little bit. And there's not much else on the board. So I'm really leaning on KC. And now you got me worried. Do you prefer a different team over KC, knowing that I picked the Rams and Ravens already?
Yeah, so I will say this is a tough week for survivors. It's not like an obvious play. You really got to make a tough choice here. As you know, I don't like it. I truly do think the Colts are going to win this week. I really think. Listen, if we see in the NFL, you're surprised more often than not, right? And the surprise happens because this team looked bad for 2 weeks. This is a game they have to win. Like they go at 0-3, their season's almost over. So
if Michael Pittman's out, I'm definitely going to take the Chiefs. But if Pittman's in, maybe you can sell me off it. But continue with what you're saying.
I actually think the Colts are going to win handily. I just have a feeling I like the Colts a lot. So my pick for you is actually going to be the Chargers at home, having the Jaguars come out. The Jaguars have looked good. I go back to, like I said, as we see it, that's why the spreads are what they are. The books price it this way. Teams typically are what we thought they were, even though they've looked a certain way the first couple of weeks. They tend to average out to what we think they are. And the Jaguars probably aren't as good as they looked, and the Colts probably aren't as bad as they looked.
Dave, help me out, man. Chiefs or my second pick would probably be the Chargers. if Keenan Allen plays, he's the guy that I'd probably go to. But what's your thoughts here?
Listen, I liked Arizona a little bit last week, so and that's kind of in the sense that Joel is leaning here with Indy. I think it is a tricky spot for KC. I'm not going to say outright like him, but I do like the Colts with the spread 6.5. So if you like them with the spread, maybe I'd avoid that game, go with the home team. But for me, I'm telling you, I'm still alive. I'm going Cincinnati. I listen.
Jets scary, man. Jets are kind of scary.
They scared nothing out of me. They were down freaking 13 points to the stupid Cleveland Browns. Got a lucky onside kick. And then week 1, they were dominated by a Baltimore team. We just saw let up 1 million points to the Dolphins, and the Jets can only manage 6, 7, 9. I don't know, something in single digits. So Bengals aren't going 0-3, and they're going to get it fixed quicker than we think. Do they get back to the playoffs? Maybe, maybe not, but they'll get right this week. I really do. I think this is one where public's all hyped up about the Jets. I think Bengals get right.
Who did you take the first 2 weeks, if you don't mind me asking?
No, not at all. Last week was San Fran for me. Another one where I said, hey, in the mud in week 1, can't really, judge that game. They came back and maybe Jimmy G saved me. Maybe in week 1 was Baltimore. So I'll be 2 out of 3 against the Jets.
Okay. All right.
I like Cincinnati. That was good.
Yeah, I think they can. They're a backup here if I want to sway it over, but I don't know, man. The Jets, I think defensively they're pretty good. They're not a bad defensive team. Bengals have holes. I can see the Jets winning before I see the Colts winning. That's all I'm saying. I don't know. And I don't know. Cincinnati's look pretty bad, man. They lost to the Steelers and Trubisky. They were.
No, I get it.
Yeah, it's a little scary, man. I want to go with the chalk to some extent. So
then it's Chargers for me. I like Joel's pick with the Chargers. I think.
Yeah, if Keenan plays, they're going across country. Yeah, I get. Yeah, it's probably.
And the Jags are a little hyped up too, right? We're a little jumping a little bit too far with them. I think
they have a really good defense. I think the Chargers are probably the most complete team outside of Buffalo, where they really don't have any real weakness. They have a run game they haven't established. They got good wide receivers, great quarterback, and a really good defense. Their defense might be their best spot. They really improved on that side. So they'll bring the pressure to Lawrence. They got a shutdown corner that can maybe line up with Christian Kirk and slow him down a little bit. So I like that play. Joe, last thoughts, man. You've been crushing GPPs. How did you do last week? I didn't get to talk to you. How did you do with your NFL lineups? Any big hits this week? I know you crushed NCAA football.
I was in the big mega millionaire.
Oh, really?
I cashed. I didn't, make $1 million, but I cashed. So I made some money. So that's a good thing. I had Goff and Amon-Ra St. Brown, and I had Hill. So that was enough to kind of get you over the top. I don't know which tournaments I'm going to be playing this week, but check us out. Check me and Dave out on Friday night. We'll be doing the college football show, and we've been hot with our college football picks too. Yeah. Pretty much picking. I've been winning every week so far this year, continuing right here from last year. So check us out there Friday night at 9:00.
100%. All right. Before we let you go, one last question, Joe. Who's going to be on a Million Maker lineup this week, or which stack is going to be on a Million Maker lineup? You choose those 2 questions. Either way you want to go. Dave, same way by you.
I'm going to go with get your shares of the Vikings on a bounce back. Get yourself some Justin Jefferson. They are going to make sure he is fed healthily this week.
All right, Justin Jefferson, Million Maker lineup. Dave, who's on your Million Maker lineup winner?
Yeah, I'm going in the game, but I'm going on the other side, and I do like the Vikings. Believe me, I do. I think that's a great call. I'm going to go with the Lions. I just think at this point, the pace they want to play at, and just the way that he's got his team all fired up. Onside kicks whenever he wants. I just think they're a team that's going to want to play these high-powered games. And I wouldn't even hate playing Goff like Joel had last week. But St. Brown, obviously Swift. So and Hawkinson. I think Hawkinson's – and Goddard had a great game the other night, even though he didn't get in the end zone. So I like that stack.
Yeah, I like that a bunch too, man. I think that's a great call. Goff is too cheap. St. Brown for right now is still too cheap. Swift is affordable. And Jefferson's the only guy you really got to pay up for, but he should be in a nice bounce back spot. I'll go with I'm going to go with what I went in with. I'm going to go with Jalen Hurts with a combination of A.J. Brown. I think it's back to A.J. Brown day. He's going to have a monster game, over 100 yards, probably close to 10 receptions. If Washington can keep this game close at home, which is the scary part, but Wentz has the revenge narrative, so hopefully he figures out a way to keep this game close enough, long enough, where you get max potential out of Jalen and A.J. Brown. And the tough part is, it's not really so much on the Philly side. It's getting the Washington side right, because they have 4 legitimate weapons in the wide receiver and tight end core, where if you don't get that right, that becomes a problem. But Carson, look, he has the weapons around him. Both defenses. I know Philly's defense looked great yesterday, but Detroit went out there and scored a bunch of points on them. This is an in-division game. So, hopefully they let up some points here and get it going. Definitely check us out on WinDailySports.com. I don't know if you guys have seen the player prop model for PrizePicks, but that's been doing great so far this year. Got projection models, lineup optimizer, WinDailySports.com. So use promo code WinBig. Win big to lock in for a free week. One quick question. Bucs defense in play this week. Definitely in play. I don't mind it. You're going
really
against
every week.
Yeah, you're going against Green Bay, so a little bit tougher. This might be a slower paced game with, running on both sides. Don't hate the play at all. I think it's definitely in play. The defense is a little bit tough this week, man. It really is. So take your shots. All you really need is a ball to bounce your way. There's nobody up top. Like KC's up top. The Chargers definitely good spot up top. But I'm not paying $3,600 for the Bengals. The Saints, I think, are probably in the best spot overall. Going against Carolina and Baker Mayfield, who's atrocious. I'm not just saying that to say that he's really bad, and the Saints D is good. It is kind of shut down Tampa, so they'll definitely be able to shut down Carolina, I think. So I think the Saints D in play, Bucks in play, Ravens bounce back. They're going to be pissed off after what happened going against a slow offense. I think they're in play. Philly's in play too. If you're not stacking Jalen Hurts, don't mind Philly. They just shut down a better offense in Minnesota. And then outside of that, Tennessee, not really. I think Seattle's in a great spot against Atlanta. Jets against Cincinnati, I would play as well. But then after that, no Arizona for me, no Jacksonville. Joe, you can sell them on Indianapolis if you want, but I'm off that. And you know love for Indianapolis defense, right?
Not for fan. I still think they're going to win the game, but no, I don't think we need to play their defense against Pat Mahomes.
Make sure you put $1 on the Colts money line, just for your own good, man.
$1. There's going to be more than $1. I'm taking it. I'm serious. I'm not kidding. I think they're going to win the game.
All right, you're going to sell me off. You're going to definitely sell me off this Survivor bet, but good luck to everybody. We have a Thursday night slate. There'll be a Thursday night showdown article and video. Your guys' show on Fridays covering college football. And then we got, oh, shit. Thank you, Lord. The Mets just hit a home run. I think
thank you.
The game.
Yes.
Why?
I need the Phillies are only 2 games up on the Brewers. I need you guys, and we're losing.
They're up 7-4, bro. So can you guys actually do your job and beat the damn Braves, please? Like, do a job, Dave. Beat the Braves, please.
No, I want to be that last wild card spot. I need to play St. Louis and not you or the Braves. So we're good.
You don't want to help me out, man. Don't want to help me out. But yeah, that's looking good. They partied last night. That was kind of fun. Hopefully the Braves finally lose a game. But yeah, Lindor just hit a 3-run home run, it looks like, or a grand slam. I don't know.
They were down 4-3, so I think it's grand slam.
Yeah, so yeah, he just hit a grand slam to put them up 3. So I'll take that.
What color is his hair?
What color is his hair? He's wearing a do-rag, so I can't really tell right now. I can't really tell right now.
I might do that.
I'll take a do-rag over blue hair any single day. And on that note, you saw LeBron James finally went bald and shaved his entire head. So that's definitely something that was definitely needed. So I don't know why I didn't do it earlier, because everybody's making fun of his receding hairline. You might as well just take it off and just rock the bald head. And people now, the only thing I don't like about him doing it, they're now comparing him more to Jordan and Kobe, because like Jordan finally went to the no hair and Kobe went to the bald head.
Yep.
So now they're putting LeBron on that same pedestal, which I'm not really a fan of. But Good luck to everybody. We are out of here. We'll be back. Like I said, watch the PGA show on Wednesday. Watch your guys' show on Friday. Pretty much doing shows every single day of the week. And obviously on Sunday, we'll be back with the live stream as well, going over lineups and all that kind of good stuff. So we're out of you guys. Good luck in your contest. I'll probably beat you. And Joe, if you want to help me with my Win Daily League, help me with pickups, we can share a team, man. We can beat up on everybody. We're 2-0 right now. So if you want to help me out, I'll share my lineups with you. You tell me what to do.
All right, I'm in.
All right, man. We're out of here. See you guys later.